Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Baba, Honorable Raila Odinga, for the good work that he did at the African Union. Mr. Speaker, I've just finished reading a book called Ikigai that talks about the Japanese secret to a long life. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that they talk about that contributes to a long life is never retiring. And Mr. Speaker, I'm never retiring. And that you never retire when you have discovered your Ikigai, which is your purpose for living. Very few people in life discover their purpose in life. One of them is Honorable Raila Odinga. And his purpose in life is service to humanity. It doesn't matter how much people want to pour in dirt on him. Younger generations who do not know what he has done over the years, you can never take away his Ikigai. And I would want to encourage those who are busy talking a lot of nonsense around him, find your own purpose in life and live it fully and never retire. Because when you find your purpose in life, Mr. Speaker, you are always happy regardless of circumstances. So that's why even whether he wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Mr. Speaker, there are many of us at 20 years or 30 or 40, 50 who will not be brave enough to go for such a position. Can you imagine a person who at 80 years is willing to dare out and go for such a position? Whether he wins or not does not matter. It is inspirational enough that at that age he's gone out there. But I want to also congratulate and thank His Excellency President William Ruto for the work that he has done for Honorable Raila Odinga in this regard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we went there, I went very cautiously optimistic. Not because I had less faith in the capabilities of Honorable Raila Odinga, but as a person who has worked in the Pan-African region with the Pan-African Parliament and other fora, Mr. Speaker, I understand the geopolitics very well, the issues of regional blocks, language blocks, amongst other issues, Mr. Speaker. And sometimes they come into play, including prevailing circumstances in the region. They sometimes come into play. Mr. Speaker, the other issues, including the fact that Honorable Raila Odinga was a towering figure that some people may have found a bit intimidating. His strength, as I've seen one writer say, may have been his weakness because some people can't deal with strong characters. Mr. Speaker, it is also an opportunity for the AU to introspect. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, I see you have changed. Madam Speaker, it's an opportunity for the AU to introspect because the issues of equity keep coming up and barriers based on language, religion, or other factors always keep coming up. The way they've tried to solve it in Pan-African Parliament is the way they need to solve it also at that level. Madam Speaker, I would also want to say that I've seen a narrative that people are trying to sell, that Raila always loses. Honorable Raila was a member of Langata for many years. Yes. Madam Speaker, he even resigned his position and went for by-election and won. And he has served as Prime Minister. And the one who is saying Raila would never will never win anything, has never even won a village elder position, and will never win a village elder position. So really, be factual and wish your fellow Kenyan well is when God will bless you. Madam Speaker, there are many Sanballats and Tobiases in this country. They are very noisy and even noisier than the people who have goodwill for this country. But I want to say that I was impressed by the equally high number of Kenyans who came to Ethiopia using their own resources. People came in buses, in bicycles, by air, and by all means, and they were all tribes, Madam Speaker. My time is up. I want to also thank them and say God works in mysterious ways. What you thought was going to work for ill has actually worked for good. We were fighting last week We are now sitting calmly as a minority, Madam Speaker.
Speaker, I want to first start by saying that it is important that we know that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga was not the candidate. Kenya was the candidate. That is what many Kenyans forgot. So any Kenyan who was against the candidature of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is an unpatriotic Kenyan, because it is very prestigious for your country to hold the position of chairperson. That position of chairperson is actually the symbol of continental unity in Africa. So it is the envy of every country to have a person from their country to hold that position of chairperson. So anyone who makes disparaging remarks is actually doing a disservice, not to the individual of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but to us as a country, and must be frowned upon. It is also important because it seems like during this conversation, many Kenyans never understood the significance of that position of chairperson. When you have that position of chairperson as a country, you literally have the ability to be able to shape the economic and trade policies of the entire continent. You would be able to have the ability to champion the African Continental Free Trade, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, yes. And it's something that has been very difficult for us, for Africa to achieve. You will also be able to promote the unity of Africa, even in movement. You see that today, to go to an African country, within Africa, I have to get a visa. Today, you go to the EU, if you have an EU visa, you can practically transverse the entire EU without any border stop, and so can the trade movement also happen like that. So it is upon us as Africans and as Kenyans that we were in an enviable position, that we almost clinched that position of chairperson, where we'd be able as a country to champion the free movement of Africans within Africa. Because we must remind ourselves that visas were created by the global north to keep off Africans or the global south from the global north. But today, within Africa, we actually have visas to keep ourselves out of it. We must continue to say that as Kenya, as a country, we pledge that we shall continue to try and promote ourselves to get that position of chairperson of the African Union. And not just that position. There are many other positions that are available in the UN and other international bodies where Kenya can showcase itself. So I call upon all Kenyans that when these positions do arise and we have a Kenyan candidate, that candidate is not an individual candidate but a national candidate. And it's upon us to support them throughout and be able to ensure that the country gets that particular seat. I saw the joy of Germany when van der Leyen became president of the European Commission. And that country took great pride in it. I want to see a situation where, as Kenyans, we become more patriotic. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For the day-to-day operations and activities of the AU is headed by the chairperson elected by heads of state and governments from member states. Recalling that on 27th February 2024, Kenya formally announced that the former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, will be vying for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC, building on his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023, appreciating that in recognition of the immense Pan-African ideals embodied in the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, his dedication and leadership in advancing the cause of the African continent through various initiatives and positions held over the years, including his previous service as the African Union Special Envoy for Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023. His Excellency the President endorsed the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as Kenya's candidate for the chairperson of the African Union Commission, noting that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's candidacy for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission was not only his personal ambition, but also a symbol of Kenya's deep commitment to the goals of the African Union and its desire to actively participate in shaping the continent's future. Commending the government of Kenya, led by His Excellency the President, for the Pan-African campaign in support of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, reinforced by Kenya's commitment to regional and continental integration and cooperation and guided by Kenya's foreign policy. Further commending the remarkable achievement by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for emerging the run-up in the election of the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15th February 2025, recognizing the need to sustain Kenya's growing prominence on the continental stage and advocacy for a more united, prosperous, and self-reliant Africa in resonance with the aspirations of millions of Africans who seek to see the continent empowered to chart its own course in the global arena. Now, therefore, this House records its thanks to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, CGH, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces of the Republic of Kenya, for endorsing the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, as Kenya's candidate for the election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission, AUC, and for coordinating the continental campaign in support of his candidacy. 2, expresses his profound thanks to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, EGH, for demonstrating his unwavering commitment to the service of Africa by offering himself as Kenya's candidate for the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, for his leadership in advancing Pan-African unity, for his dedication to the development and integration of the African continent, and for his distinguished attempt to the election in which he emerged as the runner-up, and 3, records his congratulations to His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf on his election as the chairperson of the African Union Commission on Saturday, 15th February 2025. Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, from the outset, let me thank you for the opportunity and also bring to the attention of the House, Honorable Speaker, that in the course of that election, I was nominated to be the chief agent in the closed auditorium, Honorable Speaker. And as the chief agent, Honorable Speaker, in a very controlled, heavily guarded compound, controlled numbers of people getting in and out, I was privileged to sit with our president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, alongside a few members representing the Republic of Kenya during that election, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to specifically thank the President of this country, Honorable Speaker. It is seldom that a person whom you have subjected yourself to a very fierce contest would come back to lift your hands and put you, or try to put you into a position that you are garnering for, Honorable Speaker. The President of the Republic of Kenya went beyond the call of duty, even launching the candidature of Right Honorable Raila Odinga in State House in the Republic of Kenya, notwithstanding the fact that in 2022, they were fierce challengers, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, history will judge Dr. William Samoei Ruto very positively going into the future. And I come from a community, Honorable Speaker, that will never forget those who do good to it. Perhaps the only community, Honorable Speaker, and I'm very proud to be hailing from that community, Honorable Speaker. As is the norm, many a times there is victory in defeat. And we left Addis Ababa together with Baba, with our heads high. And now the president, together with the Right Honorable Prime Minister, can embark on their duty of uniting this country. There is more work to be done here than there could have been work to be done in Addis Ababa. And therefore, I join my brother, Honorable Junet, by saying that those who think this was a defeat against Baba are in for a rude shock, Honorable Speaker. The mission to unite this country, regardless of where one comes from, is a journey that we can never drop. And therefore, as Baba comes back to join hands with his brother, the president, those who celebrated much early will be shocked as we go into the future, Honorable Speaker. And Baba is going to give us more direction as to where we will go, both as a community and as the Republic of Kenya. In the auditorium, Honorable Speaker, there could be factors that played out, some of which we will not delve into, Honorable Speaker. But in that auditorium, if I counted correctly, there were less than 10 presidents who had stayed behind for that election. However, they were represented by their various ministers in charge of foreign affairs, Honorable Speaker. And I would be remiss not to make it clear that even the one who has been elected is a foreign minister of his country. And therefore, those who were given the task to vote on behalf of their leaders, Honorable Speaker, are his contemporaries, are his colleagues, are people that he has worked with in the Foreign Office. And because this was a secret ballot, it was secret to the extent, Honorable Speaker, that presidents and the voters were given empty papers, empty. There was no name. And they were expected to write those names and bring the papers to where we were to be counted, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the speculation going around that people are castigating other countries for dropping the ball against us is not true, Honorable Speaker. It is so hard to tell who wrote what on which piece of paper, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, unless you know handwritings of all the presidents in Africa, you can never know who voted for who. But I can say unequivocally that apart from Kenya, there are 20 countries that stuck with Baba through and through, even as we went into the last batch of the voting process, Honorable Speaker. 20 countries out of 49 that were present in the auditorium is not an easy achievement, Honorable Speaker. They stuck with us to the letter, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we are very thankful to the entire African continent because Baba went all the way to the 7th round. And in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, he chose to withdraw himself in order to avoid a stalemate that would have ensued, Honorable Speaker. Only Baba can do that. Otherwise, the rest would have subjected themselves to rounds and rounds of elections that would have led to nowhere. And you remember, Honorable Speaker, when our South African sister, Dlamini Zuma, won, they went all the way to the 7th round. There was no ultimate winner. The election had to be suspended for 6 months. And in the intervening period, Mali had to be taken out because of the coup. So Baba, in the Pan-Africanist spirit, chose to withdraw himself, not to subject our African continent to a stalemate that was witnessed when Dlamini Zuma became chair. And Honorable Speaker, these are facts that will govern the elections of AUC going into the future. That certain times there is no point holding on and subjecting the whole continent into a stalemate. Only Baba did it, somebody else can be able to do it, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, a clarion call has been made by both the President and the Prime Minister, Honorable Speaker, that it is time we united our country first and then move to unite the African continent. Honorable Speaker, this is not a small journey. Uniting a country that has always been divided across ethnic, religious, and tribal lines, you need a Baba and you need President Ruto to have this country come together. You need both to bring this country come together. And the hyperbolic political temperatures that we have continued to see, when we have elections 2.5 years to come, must stop for the sake of this country. Honorable Speaker, we only have one country, and it is called the Republic of Kenya. If we destroy this, we have nowhere else to go to. If you go to the northeastern part, where we are playing good host to refugees who left their countries because of the circumstances of war, it is not something that you'd wish on anyone else, Honorable Speaker. The conditions that people live in those shanties is not something to write home about. And therefore, if there are people who are beating drums of war and are laughing at the top of their voices because Kenya has not succeeded, they do not belong to this country. And perhaps they do not understand the history of war and genocide that have